All right, welcome back to the Skin Deep podcast. I have the pleasure of talking to an old friend who I haven't seen for a very long time, Mr. Crooked Ken. Introduce yourself.
I'm Krooked Ken, tattoo Black Anchor Tattoo in Denton, Maryland, and I've been tattooing about 30 years.
Awesome, brother. Man, so we were just talking. It's been years since I've seen you. I'm wondering if the last time we saw each other was when you did a guest spot at Luxury Tattoo in Delaware, Ohio at Bill Galloway's, and I got the Rose of No Man's Land on my rib cage.
That is probably correct. I don't, what year would that have been? I mean,
2010. I mean, maybe we ran into each other again at like the Reading convention or the Philly or the Pennsylvania, the Pittsburgh convention, and
oh, yeah, meeting of the
11,
marked,
12, or
maybe.
13. Yeah, meet at the mark. And I think that's where you and I actually met. I believe, and I don't know if either of us remember this correctly. George Keeler came up to me because we knew each other from Lowbrow Customs forum doing
Oh, okay,
lowbrow art. And he came
right.
up and he was like, "Are you West Core Art?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, I forget what his fucking handle was, but anyways, he's like, "I'm George Keeler." And then I came over to his booth, and I think it was you, him, Bill Galloway, and it might have been Rich T. We're all
Yep, yep.
sharing like two booths together. And that's when I first met Bill Galloway and found out, oh shit, you tattoo in Delaware, Ohio. This is fucked up. How have I never heard of you? Because that's for anybody listening. I'm in Columbus, Ohio. Delaware is the city right above, and Bill's become a dear friend of mine. But I think, yeah, we met at Meeting of the Mark probably back in fuck '05.
Yeah. Man, yeah, we're getting old.
Yeah, dude, we are. So let's step into some of the tattooing because we're gonna get to your work here soon, and it definitely has a unique appeal to it. But what was the career path before you got into tattooing, if any?
Well, yeah, no, well, with the parents I had, you had to have a job at 15 or you're out. um, we well, a true career path. Like after high school, I got a job with a company, like a logistical company that uh, they did the logistics for large manufacturing companies. And I just started out as like a working the counter or whatever, parts guy kind of thing. And
Right.
because I kind of had a little bit of a mechanical electrical background from my job at a chicken factory in maintenance at age 15,
Okay.
I so when I got in there and was in the storeroom, I knew what things were. I knew what a relay was. I knew what normally open and normally closed relays, 85 or 8506 square D, whatever. So I was walking around in the storeroom and I saw like three of the same items under different names, and some were coming from Germany, so it would be like super expensive compared to what was made right here in America. So I
Right.
started sending all that stuff back and getting our hundreds of dollars a piece and replacing them with the American made ones that were like $6. So they saw me,
Right.
creating all the savings, thousands and thousands of dollars a month. So I got promoted pretty quickly, and ended up working for back then it was called Industrial Systems Associates, and it was a division of, I guess that's what we'd call it. It was a division of Philip Morris, and they would basically
Oh, okay.
they would rent out their purchasing power to other companies, because if say if there was a ball bearing that was you know on that they were using on drills at Black and Decker, and this is actually a true scenario. You know, Black and Decker would buy 10,000 of these bearings. But Philip Morris was so big, they'd buy 4 million of them. So they were paying half of what Black & Decker was. So we would supply
Right.
Black & Decker with the bearings, and we charge them 20% on top. We would make a nice profit, and then they would save, 30-40% on their manufacturing costs. So that was my job, was to supply those parts to them. And then I worked my way up to regional operations manager and kind of had all of the factories from like Maine to like Virginia and out to the St. Louis area. And that's what I did.
So
Go ahead.
no, continue.
Yeah, and that was it paid well. So I started getting heavily tattooed at Little Gary's, where George Keeler and Bill Galloway worked, and I was getting tattooed by those guys.
All right.
Yeah, I was getting tattooed by those guys, and then just one thing led to another. And actually, that's kind of, I was getting heavily tattooed. My wife knew that I was always gone. I'd get on an airplane on a Sunday night and would do my job, fly home Saturday morning, spend one night at home, and then back out on the road again. And she was getting sick of it. She was, she'd had enough. And apparently she had talked to Bill about me tattooing, like behind my back. And Bill talked to Gary, and she bought me equipment for Christmas after talking to Bill. And
no shit.
Of course, I did
shit.
it, and I'm like, what did you waste this money on? I can't, this is not how you do this. I don't know what I'm doing. And then Bill pops in and is like, hey, if you want a tattoo, Gary said it's okay. So that's what led to tattooing.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So you weren't even looking to move out, because that's what my question was going to be when I accidentally interrupted you, was like, wow, it sounds like you got a great career going.
But
so it was your wife behind your back who
yeah,
got you into tattooing.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure I mentioned it like, wow, that'd be really cool. Cause I mean, I would draw my own tattoos and stuff like that. And I shouldn't have been fucking doing it. Obviously I didn't know what I was doing. And taking them in, and the guys would do their thing with them and put them on me, but yeah, I guess the changing thing is like, I did both for quite a while. Like I was able to, because I was in management, I could narrow my week down, so I could tattoo like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then fly out Sunday night and fly back like early Thursday or Friday morning, and then tattoo. So it was a full schedule, but I do it up because I was already, I had a home, I had a mortgage, I had I was making good money doing that. So it was a big pill to swallow to take that jump to start tattooing. But it worked out.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Yeah, and obviously. Let's take a look here at your first tattoo that you sent me. So what do we got here, and who did this?
That's my first tattoos. Little Gary in Dover, Delaware, did the swirl in the background and stuff. Tom Painter from Winchester, Virginia, God rest his soul, R.I.P. He did the castle. And then on the bottom there where it says I was there, that's Topper did that on me years ago when I did my very first guest spot at Philadelphia Eddie's.
No shit. Wow.
Yeah,
that's a classic arm, dude.
I got to do my guest spot in Tommy Knapp's seat, and that is probably one of my all-time greatest memories, thanks to Topper.
That
and
is,
and
that's so
Jerry.
cool.
Yeah,
So I'm assuming you, when you're first tattooing, that you're tattooing everything that's coming in the shop. At what
absolutely.
point do you start moving towards your style that you now have?
I looking back, I guess I got the gentleman that told me, Gary, had been tattooing a long time. So early on, I got to see, and he would do, well, we all did, whether it be a portrait or whatever, walk through the door in the '90s, But he'd been tattooing so long that I got to see 20-year-old portraits, fine line stuff on, like, a gentleman would come in and he'd have, say an animal portrait on his forearm, done with, type 3 or single needle. On the other arm, he had a eagle, globe, and anchor from his Marine Corps days, and it was 20 years old as well, and it looked like it was done yesterday. So
Right.
subconsciously, I was just kind of like, well, what's gonna have better longevity as a career as well as tattoos, that people are going to look at 25 years from now and still be like, oh man, who did that? I want to go to that guy.
Right.
Instead of looking at something that says, like, oh, what is that? They're not even going to ask who did it.
Right.
They don't even know what it is. So I think that kind of led me in that direction. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a very two-dimensional guy. Like, I want to be able to tell what it is, you know, solid color, solid lines, and just make it bulletproof. That's just been my goal. I was better at mechanically applying a piece than I was laying out a huge, crazy custom tattoo.
Right. Well, let's jump into some of your work. And so we've got your first tattoo. So we got these two tattoos. And before you start explaining it, and I at least want to input, there's a lot of really good traditional tattooers out there. But I would say somehow yours literally take me back in time. And who are your inspirations? I mean, like I said, there's plenty of great traditional tattoo artists out there, but it still seems like there's that currentness to it, where I see one of yours and it's like, I feel like I'm in the Bowery in 1930. Like, who do you drag your inspiration from as far as color placement, design layout, etc.?
It'd be Cat Coleman. I mean,
Okay.
his tattoos, and I'll tell you something I used to do early on and not even knowing why I did it. I would cut out, my wife used to get so pissed, I would just cut out, like, flash, like, I'd have like a ship that Coleman did. I'd cut it out and put a magnet, stick it to my refrigerator door, and beside it would be, say, I don't know, a Paul Rogers, or a something Don Nolan did, or just somebody else's ship. And I would stare at those things for weeks because I couldn't understand why one was so appealing to me and the other one wasn't. Why did Cap
Right.
Coleman's have so? And then I do it with pinup girls, and I do it with, just so it was in my face every day. And then little things started to hit me, like, oh, okay, he starts shading from the actual line. He's not leaving a highlight, or he always has a gap between the green in the water to the top of the wave and then to the bottom of the boat. And then I realized that was a formula that was consistent through, like, Cap's work, and some others too as well, but mainly Cap Coleman. It was just repetitively the same. So it was almost like a mathematical equation of how each tattoo
Right.
was applied. And and then you'd see stuff like from overseas, like Christian Warlock and people like that had so much detail in their tattoo, and then you'd see the same exact tattoo, bare bones by Coleman, and you'd be like, shit, it don't need all that. You know, you can make a tattoo that's going to last forever, and you don't need any of that shit inside, and it's still a beautiful tattoo when it's applied.
So let's go back to your work. That's interesting. Because I was like, there's something that you do, or the way your brain thinks, that makes your tattoos stand out amongst the American traditional. Dude, this dragon's fucking fantastic, man. I love it.
Thank you.
How many big pieces or large scale pieces do you typically do? Like, do people, and I know we're going to see a couple of them. Is this a rarity that you get a full torso?
It is. And sadly, as I've aged, I'm not able to set like I used to. You know what I mean? Like, I can't set hours at a time. So I have to, you know, people that request me, I'm doing a couple back pieces I have in progress right now. And I have to be honest with them and tell them, like, you're going to have to get this 2 or 3 hours at a time. I just can't do it anymore. You know, there's no more marathon shit in me. I'm done.
Dude, I'm the exact same way. I book 2-hour sessions, and people are, you know, people are like, you know, on the rarity that, you know, somebody's coming in from West Virginia, I'll book them for a 4-hour session. But at the age of 54, man, just the brain and the body, and I work out a lot and everything, just you're not getting my A game. You know, you can get 100% of my brain for 2 hours.
Right.
Then we start, it's 98%, 96%. And I'm just like, you're paying for 100% of Wes that I prefer to work in 2.5 hour increments. So I feel you as well, man.
And I think that my clients seem to like it better too. They don't even know it, but after they're done, you know, a solid 2.5 hours max, they're not totally stressed. You know, they're not, you know, like, they're still looking forward to the next session. You know what I mean? They're not like leaving the shop going, fuck, I don't know if I'm going to finish this or not. Screw this, you know?
Right.
Because you always have those people, you know, how many times have you outlined shit, you don't see them for 6 years?
Yeah, exactly.
Until they, you know, get a new job or hit the lottery or something, then they come back and want to finish it.
Exactly. So is this dragon a piece of flash, or is this a custom drawn from you?
No, that started as a piece of flash. I don't remember where. I think I altered it to like fit around the nipples and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it started out as a piece of. I'm sure it was flash.
Let's move on to this eagle, dude. This thing is so simple but so crisp and clean, and again, it's timeless, bro. Again, inspiration, hand drawn, if you remember.
No, I think that was just an eagle that I saw somewhere in flash that I liked, and I added the shield and changed the way the wings were done. Like, I just like my wings simplistic, just like with the yellow shoulder and just black wings and done. No coloring from the back end or any of that stuff, you know.
I'm curious on needle selection as we move over to these next tattoos. Do you use flats, mags, or curved mags, or do you use an assortment of both, of all three?
No, mags. Pretty much 9 mags always.
Okay, so straight 9 mags is your gig.
Yep. Yeah.
What do you outline with typically then?
9s and 11s.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're, I guess what they call it today, a traditional, you know, just a straight 9 or 11.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Again, nice big piece. Again, I'm going to assume you're using Cap's formula here on the Jesus.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, so simple, so great. That thing fucking looks
Shading
awesome.
off,
How old How old is that?
That tattoo I did probably 5 years ago. That's all, actually technically that's actually on my son.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah, like 5 years ago.
So yeah, so describe the technique then on this. How did your brain work, and how did you decide color placement?
On the Jesus,
Yep.
just well, to me, it's I try. I always well, I'll start with if you notice, I always try to use a limited color palette.
Yep.
If you can't pull it off with green and red, then I'll use yellow or gold and just brown as skin tone. I always shade from the line. And if I find a spot, because my goal is actually I try to reduce, like, if I can leave something blank, I do. I always try to go. I don't look at something and go, oh, what color can I put in there? I look at it and say, do I have to put anything in that? Because I'd rather not.
Right.
So, but like with that, like with the thorns and stuff, I just instead of like like when I'm processing in my mind of where I'm going to put the black shading, I'm also at the same time thinking, what's this going to touch? What's going to come off of it? So in that, like I just instead of using, I just do a little bit of black when it went over and under, and then just a little bit of green, and then just left the rest blank, and it makes a great contrast, with the hair. Instead of having solid green, I think that would have ruined it. You wouldn't have been able to see the difference.
Yeah, no, I think the crown is definitely one of the pieces. I love the amount of open skin in the face and the neck too.
Yeah.
That's always, I'm definitely, it's funny. This podcast is great for me. I'm learning so much. American traditional, people think, oh, it's so simple. It's a small color palette, blah, 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 etc. I'm an edge to edge, full saturation guy that when I do get the occasion to do American traditional, which I like, dude, I'm stressed. I'm doing color studies at home on the iPad, referencing shit from Cap Coleman and all you guys, and like, all right, where am I going to put the black? Where am I going to put the color? Am I making sure I don't accidentally have gold on one thing butting up to gold on another, like really making sure everything's well balanced. And it takes me a lot of prep time to pull off a good American traditional, unless of course they pick it off the wall and it's already good. Then I'm just a technician.
Yeah, and I'm just the opposite. When somebody comes in, and they show me something on their phone that's got 20 different colors in it, I'm just like, holy shit. First of all, I'm like, do I own any of those? And then I start digging through the bottom drawer trying to find those colors.
Right.
Maybe I start shaking them and just pray to God it's not dried up.
That's awesome. This pilot woman again. What's the theory behind this? Because I love it.
Just a piece of flash that the customer picked out, and just I think it was a line, but it might have just been a line drawing. I don't remember, but this is on a kid that I've done. Oh my God, I've done 2 sleeves on him, a lot on his legs. He's one of the back pieces that's being done right now. I've done his chest. And it's just all this kind of stuff. He just picks the coolest stuff, and he'll do the researching and everything. He'll find the designs and stuff. But again, limited color palette. I actually remember having gold out for the centerpieces of the leaves, and just got to that point, wiped it down, and was like, "Ah, fuck it, looks good. I'm done."
Nice. Yeah, I think it's super well balanced. And one thing I also notice, and it's something I struggle with too, is how much black to put into it. And some traditional pieces need more black than others. That this doesn't actually have a lot of black in it, which I really like.
This is going to sound, I don't know, this is going to sound crazy, but I tend to try to limit the black I use on feminine designs. So if I'm tattooing a female, face in a rose, or, a girl head with flowers around that are in the hair or whatever, I will try to lighten that up because it's just going to be prettier, whether it's on a guy or a girl, you know what I mean? But if it's a feminine design, I tend to like even if I'm doing like a peacock, I'll do heavy black in the tail, but then when I get to the top, I try to, lighten up on the black. So it's just, it has a little bit more pop and just a little bit more, and if I'm doing something, I suppose, devil head or whatever, or black rose, just, then I'll pour black into it to make it look tougher. Does that make sense?
Yep. No, totally makes sense. Dude, I'm going to rewatch this podcast and take notes, bro. I'm learning.
You're learning what not to do.
Dude, I gotta up my traditional game. This piece is fucking amazing, dude.
Thank you.
Now, is that all just one shade of gold?
There is, I'm pretty sure there's a little bit of brown off the side. Not a lot. It just makes it look darker. But yeah, it's pretty
okay.
Much all gold.
Gotcha. Yeah, again, that's a fantastic piece, man. So I'm assuming you still use coils?
Yeah, I do. And I have ventured out and had a really good time playing around with what do you call those things? The wand. Is that what it's called? Bishop wand. Rodrigo Milo came through the shop. Yeah, Rodrigo Milo came through the shop and did a guest spot. I've known him for a long time. The amazing human being and an amazing tattooer as well. But he was using one and he tattooed myself, my son, a bunch of guys at the shop, and I just saw how efficient it was, and the wheels just started turning, and it was like, you know what, like I have never, in all these years, at that point probably 25 years, I've only used coils. You know what I mean? So it's like I thought, it might be fun to try something new. But it was like probably a couple of years before I even bought one. But then I bought one and played around with it and learned. It was fun just doing something new, if that makes sense. Like it was, non-repetitive. It was just something that I felt like I wanted to accomplish. So, and I'd used rotaries before, you know what I mean? I've had, a couple of those in the past. So I was like, I can't be that big a difference. I was wrong, but took me a while to get the hang of it. But I like the versatility of those things. Like when the little teeny boppers come in and want the quick little, little flash stuff off the wall, or whether, the little arrow off their phone or something. Just throw a couple of cartridges in, bam, bam, done, out, but like I still, pretty much coil.
Nice. So you've been in the game a while. Obviously, we've established your niches truly American traditional. As the tattoo industry is evolving, I mean, it seems like every fucking week. Thoughts on AI and how it's playing into tattooing? If you've considered.
Oh yeah, I've considered it because I've kind of started dabbling in that. Like, other than turning myself into a Muppet, I've started just using it as for ideas. Like, people come in and they'll give me, I've got 5 kids, and this kid does this, and this kid does that, and this kid does that, this kid does, this one does soccer, this one does football, this one's favorite color is red, this one. And I'm like, fuck, I don't know. You know what I mean? They're like, do your thing. And and I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not gonna draw for 2 or 3 hours for them to tell me, like, oh, that's not what I had in mind. Like, well, I could have been tattooing making money, So and so I've just started. A real good friend of mine, Will Roth, great tattooer out in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia, was showing me how he used it, and it's great for generating ideas. Just type that shit in there, and it'll give you 10 choices, and you can be like,
"Yep,
wow, I never thought of that." Okay, like, instead of I'm thinking soccer ball, and it would do a soccer goal with a football in it instead, or just little things like that. And it just gives me ideas. Then I can sit down and draw something that is a coherent piece that, instead of racking my brain and just getting frustrated with myself because I can't think of anything cool to do. So.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I've been doing. I've been doing Chat GPT Dolly, and probably, I don't know, twice a month, somebody, like you said, comes in and it's a laundry list of things that have to be in the tattoo. And, I type it in and say, design a tattoo. And I'll even add, keywords like American traditional or neo-traditional or watercolor or whatever. And it definitely takes that first couple hours of like, where the fuck do I even start on this? And it's like, oh shit. Yeah. I've got 3 of 10 that are usable. Let's now take pieces from this and then tattoo it the way I tattoo. So 100%, yeah,
100%.
It's, and I think it's an asset.
Something I just used it for, just to try it. I just uploaded a picture of my wife and just said, turn this into a line drawing, I wrote a prompt and said, line drawing with light gray shading. And it literally just give me a line drawing that I could have traced and done a portrait with, already shaded for reference.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And because I don't do that stuff often, it's stressful.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah, no. And it's funny to I like getting the point of view from us guys who have been in it 25, 30 years. Some people hate it. Some people are embracing it. I think it's a useful tool to help generate more ideas.
Yeah. I mean, when we've been in as long as we have, I kind of feel like, I still got bills, so I have to adapt as much as I can to provide people with what they want, or they're just going to, they already don't, a lot of people that are younger don't want to get tattooed by the old people anymore anyway, or older. I don't want to say old, but you know what I mean? Like they'll go to the shop that's got the young kids, that's got the couches and the PlayStations and all that shit. And that's just not my shop. But if they, I feel if every time that door opens, it's a gift that they chose to walk in my shop. So I'm going to do my best to stay up to date enough that I can provide them with something that makes them, happy.
Yeah, my sentiments exactly. I'm doing things that I try to adapt to accommodate everybody, and can do most things. The fine line stuff still isn't in my wheelhouse, the teeny tiny stuff, but that's about it. It's if we can get it just sometimes I'm like, we do this arrow 10% bigger, I can do it for you behind the ear.
Right. I always say something
like, can we make it an inch and a half?
Yeah, I'll make it twice as big for the same price.
Yep, dude, I say that all the time. I'm like, we can go a little bit bigger. That way, you can see it a little bit better, blah, blah, blah. In the back of my mind, it's like, if I don't make this thing bigger, I'm passing this off to somebody. I want the fucking $100, and
right.
I'm like, and I'll be like, and it'll be the same fucking price, shop minimum, $100.
Yep.
So you've been in the game a while. People who watch the podcast always love hearing crazy stories. Does any crazy tattoo story happen to stick out in your brain over the course of your 30 years of tattooing?
Man.
Whether it's just a crazy tattoo outside of our, post-convention nights, which were always crazy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That just put something in my head I wasn't even thinking of. Yeah, years ago I don't even remember what convention it was, but we were all in a hotel room. It was a large group of us, and we were tattooing in the room, after convention party tats. And someone was laying on the bed getting tattooed, and they had their work, tray laying there, and they're tattooing. And I'm not going to use names because I don't know if they want this to happen. But
right,
somebody got the crazy idea to jump from one bed to the other bed and suplex the guy getting tattooed. So when he did, he hit that fucking tray, and it flipped with 9 ink cups on it, rinse cup. There was shit all over, ink, rinse cup. I mean, everywhere, all over the whole hotel room. And because a lot of people were in the room were a little, sauced up and having a good time, we thought it'd be a good idea. If we ever wipe this shit down, we're going to have to pay for it. And that didn't accomplish much. It just made it much, much worse. So we left the hotel room with every color of the rainbow smeared all over the walls. That was funny. And then a lot of I think some of my best memories were late 90s, early 2000s.
Contaminated like a little bugger.
Yeah, I'm sure they got some kind of Lysol or something they could have used. Oh man, but I think a lot of those stories. I like the characters too. Like in the old days, somebody would come into the shop. There was a lady just came into the shop and just screamed, "All right, whose dick I got to suck to get a tattoo in here?" Because she didn't have any money. That was just like
right.
Doesn't happen anymore, or not in the neighborhood I'm in anyway. It's just every town or every area used to have those characters that were just funny as hell, and crazy stuff would happen. But I've done the normal that most everybody else has done too, the silly, one guy did a full bodysuit on it. I mean, full. Like there's nothing on him that other than his hands, neck, and face is the only thing open, because he's got a suit and tie job. He's like the chief information technology officer for a chain of hospitals. So tattooing genitalia and all the nooks and crevices and all that is not my cup of tea, but he earned it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. You never know what's under that suit and tie.
No.
Well, dude, it's been a pleasure catching back up.
Oh, mine. Thank you.
I've learned so much. I hope people who watch this, especially if there's young tattooers, take some lessons. How can people find you if they want to check out your work and get tattooed by you?
You can hit me at crookedken.com. Or you can hit me at blackanchortattoo.com. You can, if you want to reach out, want to get tattooed, email me at crookedken@gmail.com. And the shop is at 223 Market Street in downtown Denton, Maryland, on Eastern Shore, Maryland, right halfway between the ocean and the bay. So it's a nice place to visit.
Nice. Awesome, dude. Well, great time catching up with you, and wish you a great 2025. And
thank you very much.
Hopefully I'll see you. Maybe I'll hit you up and try to get out there and do a guest spot or something, brother.
Oh, that'd be awesome. And the next time I'm out there in Ohio, I'll holler at you.
Yeah, please do. All right. Cheers, brother.
All right. You take care. Thank you.